Okay, we are in fact rolling. So I'm going to go ahead and just go through and mute everybody for right now.
Okay.
But I would like you to know that this is an interactive program, not a lecture. You're more than welcome to chime in with your questions, comments, or anything else that you have to add to the conversation. We're just one big happy family here. And speaking of family, let me just talk a little bit about where I'm coming from. So for those people who don't know me yet, you can know a little bit about where, where I stand in the world of eight-figure and online business, et cetera, et cetera. So my name's Jeffrey Howard, but please call me Jeff. My mom calls me Jeffrey only when I'm in trouble. It just sounds better for a brand name, though, you know. So I have been involved with this particular business for just over a year and a half. Along with my business partner, Eric Jacobson, who, as I mentioned, is not here today because we have another mandatory attendance that one of us had to be on. He and I have just formally announced our business partnership, but we've been working together for quite a while. And between us, we're somewhere in the neighborhood of about $650,000 in the last 18 months in this business. So we're pushing hard for getting that seven-figure award by the next event. It was pretty inspiring to see Matt and Orlando and Mark and CJ get that award walking across the stage at our Denver event, and got us pretty fired up and made us realize, like, seems like there's this sort of magical formula, like two working together is more than two. It's more like 1 + 1 is 11 is what I said on the stage that day. And that's kind of what we're going with. So, but I have been involved with this industry for a long time. I've actually been, May 15th this year was my 22nd anniversary since I fired my last boss. So I have not had a job in that period of time. Jobs are, I don't know. I don't get along well with jobs, to be honest. I don't make a very good employee. I'm way too independent. I don't like somebody looking over my shoulder telling me what to do. So it was a happy day, a day of rejoicing for me when I got to walk out and fire a law firm on May 15th of whatever year that was, 1990, I don't remember, I don't remember, 1996, I think it was. Anyway, it's 22 years ago. Figured that much out. I have been involved with a lot of different business over that period of time. My first foray, what allowed me to jump out into the world of independent entrepreneurship, was actually a network marketing business. And it was actually the first business that I ever hit six figures on. So I hit six figures right out of the blocks. I've been involved with maybe 30 different companies over that period of time of 22 years. I'm successful in some, not so much in others. And but honestly, success and failure for me is really just in what you learn from the process. Success and failure are both a mindset. And Friday, Finish Strong Friday, is what we call these trainings on Friday. This is where we focus almost exclusively on mindset, on providing with tools, resources, something that's going to allow you to create a shift in your life. So I don't consider any of my quote unquote failures to be failures. They were just lessons that I was able to learn of how not to do it next time. But I have been able to be what I would call successful financially in not 9 different companies out of those 30 plus that I've been involved with. That definition for me, just for the record, yours could be completely different, is 6 figures or better in financial terms. These days, financial freedom is great. Time freedom is better. So some of those businesses that I worked in and created 6 figures or multiple 6 figures, I was actually pretty bogged down with my time, even though I was technically an independent entrepreneur. So we like things like leverage, allowing time to do the things that we want to do. I probably work on my businesses 15, 20 hours a week, spend my time hiking, hanging out with my sons. I have 4 boys actually, but one still left at home. Although this week I got almost all of them in the same town for a change. That's kind of nice. So I'm going to have a chance to see everybody this week. Anyway, what else can I say? As I mentioned, got into business partnership formally with my business partner, Eric Jacobson. He's not here. Typically he is on Fridays, and we're really thrilled about where we're going and where things are going with not just this business, but the multiple streams of income concept, which even the company 8-Figure Dream Lifestyle is starting to capture, kind of catch on to, and you'll see more about what I'm talking about as you move down the chain here in the next few weeks. So again, these calls, we call them, this is a success call technically. So if you're here for the success call, you're in the right place. On Friday, we call them Finish Strong Friday or hashtag FSF. Feel free to use that hashtag in anything you tweet or anything that you have out on Instagram or any place you post that, because because that's what we like to draw people back into our concept of Finish Strong Friday. And why Finish Strong Friday? Well, because Friday is the day that you can kind of tie up the loose ends, especially Fridays like a week like this. When we have a holiday in the middle of the week, kind of throws everybody's schedule off just a little bit. So this is a really good day to wrap up your loose ends, to tie things together. What prospects do you need to still follow up with? Who's still hanging out there that needs some communication? Just really push yourself to the next level on Friday so that you can finish strong, go into the weekend feeling like you really accomplished something big. So that's the whole purpose and reasoning behind tagging the name Finish Strong Friday. And so let's talk about how we can actually do that. So today, typically what we do on Fridays is we provide you with mindset strategy, or sometimes we go through, this whole thing started with the Friday training, started as almost like a book of the week or book of the month or whatever. And so we started with The Miracle Morning, which is a really great book. If you don't have a great routine for your own morning strategy, I would strongly encourage you to check that out. And, we've since sort of evolved into different ways that we bring in this mindset conversation. But today I'm going to circle back around to a book, and I'm going to give you a really good reason why. I shared with you a little bit about my background. Actually, I think I left out the fact that I've been a business coach for about 18 years under my own brand, which is called Mastermind Mentor. Mastermind Mentor International, to be technical. But the very first product that I ever released under my own coaching brand was a rewrite of a book called The Science of Getting Rich. The Science of Getting Rich is an old book. It was really kind of the beginning of the concepts around law of attraction, but really much more from a I don't know, his perspective was from like a more Christian perspective, which, whatever, I consider it to be non-denominational, whatever. But let me just ask you, and if you don't know how to interact with me here in the chat, let me just tell you, this is the chat box here. This is the chat. Boom. So there should be a little orange bubble that popped up for you. Or if you're on a phone, which I see some of you probably are, it probably just popped up on the screen and you can just click through and find where the chat is. So that's a great way to comment back to me, ask a question if I'm talking. But I'm just curious, just type in yes in the chat if you've actually heard of this book, The Science of Getting Rich. And I'm going to give you some perspective that will maybe bring this around to make you realize that, in fact, you might have heard of it and didn't even realize it. So type in the chat. So Gerald says yes. Hi, Mary, by the way. Welcome. Joy says nope. Nope. Okay. I'll just keep looking at that. So how many have you type in the chat, type in the chat secret if you have, that way I'm not mixing up the yeses and nos from the previous question. Type secret if you've seen the movie or read the book, The Secret. Okay, Ruth, secret, Gerald, secret, yep. Okay, so for those of you who have seen The Secret, or read it, you probably recall that at the very beginning of the story, as Rhonda's sharing her story about how this whole thing developed, she was going through a really horrible time. She was, probably the worst time of her life, and her daughter gave her a book. And that book, she doesn't talk about it specifically what that book was, but that book was The Science of Getting Rich. That's the book that her daughter gave her that ultimately triggered this domino effect that led to the movie The Secret, that led to them being on Oprah. And guess what? That's how I found out that was the book that inspired The Secret. Well, here's what was really cool for me about that. I'm getting a little tingly on my forearms here even now talking about it, is that I didn't know that. I'd seen The Secret. This was, maybe a couple of years after it came out that a bunch of the people from the movie were on the Oprah show. And where she said it was a book called The Science of Getting Rich that inspired me to do all this. Well, it turns out when I track back on the time of this, she was doing The Secret at the exact same time that I was doing this rewrite of that book. Now, this book was published in 1910. So really cool. It's just a short little book. I have it up. My version of it is up on Audible. It's about to be up on Audible. It's been submitted to Audible. I need to tweak some things. They came back to me and said, you need to tweak a couple things. But it's on Amazon. In fact, if you're interested, I can even put the link in directly to it on Amazon. But what I did, because the book is in public domain, because it was written in 1910, because the references that he talks about were written in the language of the day, I decided to take it and just kind of upgrade a few of the concepts and make it a little bit of an easier flow to read. It's short, it's sweet, it's to the point. I think the whole book is maybe 50 something pages long. The audio version is like less than 2 hours. And it was just, it was really inspiring to me when I read this book. A friend of mine recommended it for me. And like I said, it was the very, very first product that I ever put out in my own brand. And ultimately, I ended up going out and creating some joint venture relationships and doing some internet marketing. See, I will tie all these things together, you guys. Internet marketing, social media marketing, et cetera, and ended up making literally, tens of thousands of dollars on this little $17 book that I was selling. And the book was in public domain, so I had the right to go ahead and do that rewrite, and so I wasn't infringing on anybody's stuff. And it gave me just the first level of inspiration so that I could take my business to a new level and realize that there's full circle that needs to take place in my particular business at the time, which was coaching and training business, that I needed to have these kinds of products so that the money can keep flowing in even when I wasn't doing my coaching work one-on-one with people. So hopefully that makes sense. Now, where we'll tie that all together is that you have that opportunity right now with the products that we have available to take any one of those products and just begin to learn something else besides just the earn while you learn aspect of 8-Figure Dream Lifestyle. So in other words, you could go in and learn how to do Instagram or how to do Facebook or how to do YouTube or whatever. And you can go out and you don't have to create your own products, even though there are tools in our product line that will help you to do that too. But you can go out and just learn how to be a marketer, which is really what our big focus is here. And when you learn how to be a marketer, then you can take anybody's product, including, for that matter, if you liked this particular book I'm going to share with you, you can go get a link from Amazon and have an affiliate relationship with Amazon and get paid every time somebody buys that book when you refer them. So I really want you guys to get this. Like, again, Friday's not designed to be strategic in the sense of this is how to manage or run your business, but it is designed to trigger, a mindset in you that goes bigger and outside the scope of what you're thinking about now. So, the thing about when you learn how to be a marketer, when you learn how to use these tools, what you have available to you is something that nobody else can turn off. Okay, so God forbid something were to happen to this company. Can't imagine what it would be, but I've been around this industry for a long time. I've seen a lot of stuff happen, or any other company for that matter that you're involved with. You've got a skill set that you can translate into basically a money on demand machine because you've learned the core concepts. You've got yourself in the right mindset of what type of a business that you're in. So the reason, again, I wanted to focus on the science of getting rich today is because it really does illustrate the story of where I started and how I came all the way through this process to where I am now, and even feeling now like I'm ready to raise the bar even further. And hopefully everybody will also, take that to heart and want to actually increase this concept for yourself. So I need to get a drink. Hi, Selena. You're still freaking me out. So you got that look today. An inside story, you guys. It's an inside story. You totally have the look today. I'm going to have to show you the picture so you know what I'm talking about. You'll totally get it.
No.
All right, I'm going to put you on mute for just a minute, and you can open back up too if you want to. Okay, guys. So let's talk about this book called The Science of Getting Rich. Oh, here, let me put the link in the chat here. This is a link directly to my version of the book on Amazon. And like I said, I've submitted it to Audible as well. I know a lot of us love Audible. I am one of those people. I already had done an audio program of it clear back in the early days. And now I just need to tweak a few things to make Audible happy with it so that they're willing to put it on the platform. So hopefully I'll get to that this weekend. I kind of had to put it on the back burner for a little while with all the things we had going on. But let's go ahead and talk about it. And actually, here, I'll tell you what. Let me share my screen with you. Okay, so this is the cover. We'll just have that pop up right now. Hopefully you guys can see that. Can you guys see the cover of the book? That's what you'll see on Amazon if you go there. And I think what I'd like to do to start since I've already given you the backstory about this book and how sort of influential it was for me, first of all, but also how all these sort of congruent things came together at the same time that created an explosion around this idea and in my own business as well. So I'd like to read to you my introduction, which this was written, I released this 15, 16 years ago. So it's a little bit, like times have changed for me a little bit, but let me just read you the introduction that I wrote. And then I think you'll get some perspective on why it was such a big deal to me at the time. So in the introduction, I called it Change Your Mind to Change Your Life. And the first thing I wrote is the very first line of the book, which is, whatever may be said in praise of poverty, the fact remains that it is not possible to live a really complete and successful life unless one is rich. So that's Wallace D. Wattles from this book, very first line of the book. So here's my introduction. Every now and then, during the course of one's life comes a moment that changes us. It is a defining moment wherein all that we've previously learned simply and effortlessly begins to take form and manifest into a dream that we've always dreamed. It was when I read the first paragraph of this powerful classic work on creating prosperity that I knew I had found a key element, perhaps the key element in the ultimate formula. After over 25 years studying personal development and achievement, coupled with metaphysics and spirituality, this simple little work of brilliance made it abundantly clear to me that because of the nature and organization of our modern society, we simply must create absolute and unlimited prosperity in order to achieve our grandest dream and to fulfill our mission of the mission of our soul or our spirit. To put it simply, we need to experience a lot of material stuff in order to fulfill our true mission on this earth, and that experience requires a lot of money. For well over 2 decades, I've been a student of the concepts surrounding the creation of abundant wealth and prosperity. I've read over and over the classic works on the subject, including Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, somebody mentioned that earlier, and The Master Key to Riches. I've worked with the materials of many renowned experts such as Tony Robbins and Robert Kiyosaki. I've practically exhausted the available materials on the subject in a number of public libraries around the country. I've attended seminars, purchased books on tape, audio programs of all varieties, and read nearly everything I can get my hands on when it comes to the subject of creating wealth. I've continually strived to improve in all areas of my life. Has it worked? Yes, absolutely. And no, not completely. I've succeeded in creating prosperity, but that prosperity has come and gone in waves, much like the ebbs and flows of a restless ocean. I've held good jobs and enjoyed a number of careers and a variety of successful and not so successful businesses in my, at the time, 44 years thus far on this planet. That was 15 years ago. However, during this process, one thing continued to escape my grasp: the consistent ability to create the level of abundant wealth that I desire and to keep it flowing and ongoing. Until discovering this classic work called The Science of Getting Rich, first published in 1910 by a funny-looking man with a funny-sounding name, Wallace D. Wattles, a key piece of the puzzle seemed to elude me. I would create a successful business only to have it crash around me a few years later. I would begin a project that would bring unlimited wealth, or that could bring unlimited wealth into my world, only to have a few pieces fall apart, at which point I would ultimately give up on bringing it to its fruition. So until a close friend of mine, my friend's name was Cale, sent me this little book called The Science of Getting Rich, the entire process seemed very complicated and unpredictable. Until Mr. Wattles simplified the process for me, broke it down into a practically applicable system that is easy to understand and implement, I didn't have a plan that made sense, and more importantly, one that produced consistent results. A few basic shifts in my thinking, and suddenly not only did I begin to see more positive results, but I also actually felt the sense of the entire universe shifting and conspiring to assist me in achieving my goals. The key element, the previously missing link, all boils down to one simple idea brought forth by Mr. Wattles, which I paraphrase and summarize as follows. There is a living, thinking, original substance of which all things on earth are made and which is endless and limitless. This original substance responds to our thoughts and actions and has no choice but to bring about that upon which we consistently focus our thoughts and actions. Put a bit more simply, our thoughts and actions create our reality. The concept is as simple as that. The challenge comes in controlling those thoughts and actions and thinking in a certain way, as described by Mr. Wattles in this book. When I began putting into practical application this process of thinking in a certain way, things began to change. Opportunities began to appear seemingly out of nowhere. I began to experience a higher than ever level of divine coincidences that led to more opportunities and meeting more people who became part of a mastermind group leading to even more opportunities. It seemed as though I had tapped into an infinite well of energy that was creating a domino effect of multiple potential income streams and a vast wealth of opportunity. The more I studied and practiced the principles outlined in this book, the more I was able to see some predictable results in the areas of creating wealth. Moreover, I was able to create a level of balance in other areas of my life that had been eluding me thus far. From the very first paragraph, I knew there was something of great value in this little piece written so long ago by this funny little man. The information in this book is infinitely powerful, yet superbly simple. More importantly, it is applicable to our daily life. Of course, like any other related material, the information you read here will only work if you apply it. You can't simply read the book and then expect things to magically begin to turn around in your life. You must practice the concepts and shift the way you think about certain things. In fact, you must think and act as you will read over and over in the certain way. When used properly, the philosophies conveyed in this book will take you to whatever level of achievement you desire in your own life. Regardless of your perceived current station in life, your spiritual belief system, your race, your age, or your educational background, if you will apply the principles you learn in this book, you cannot help but become rich. As Mr. Wattles so simply put it, it is a mathematical certainty. You may be skeptical about the truth in this. That's fine. You can be skeptical for a while anyway. You may not believe it. That's fine too. The truth is still the truth, no matter what you choose to believe. If you're serious about creating wealth in your life and fulfilling your highest dreams, I am convinced that herein lie the tools to allow you to do just that. Give this information a chance to sink in, to permeate to your very being, and to bring its message of personal power into your world. Now you'll have the opportunity to make a different choice and create a different life for yourself. I'm eternally grateful to Mr. Wattles and those who have kept his dream alive. I'm convinced that the information you'll find in this book was delivered from a higher source to us for our use in creating our ultimate prosperous life. Use it in good health, in abundant wealth, in peace and prosperity. My best to each of you whose lives will be forever changed by the contents herein. So that's the beginning. That was my perspective. And I'm just curious from those of you who are, you can maybe hit me up in the chat or even unmute yourself. How did that land for you? And I'm not asking about like, am I an amazing writer? It's not about that. I'm just like, is there something in there that allows you to relate to the story? Again, you're welcome to unmute yourself if you would like to actually just say that out loud, or you can type it into the chat if it makes more sense to you. But I'm really curious how this feels for you. Because I think that the best things in life, the most valuable things in life are the simplest things. And I've never come across anything more simple than this. And I've been through a lot of things before this. And as you've heard me talk about, I've been through a lot of things since this. And I always seem to keep coming back to it. So let's see if I'm getting any chats. All right. Everybody's speechless. Is that what it is? Okay, let me get a quick drink and we will continue.
Hey, Jeff.
Mm-hmm.
Dan, this is like a classic, and I love what you've done with it. It's really cool. And I guess I've read it several times over the years, and I think there's still something elusive to me about it, and it's thinking in that certain way, and that certain way, and it keeps talking about that certain way, and it's like, what is that certain way? I mean, I know you just put the principles together, but it still seems elusive to me.
Okay. So chapter 8 is thinking in a certain way, and acting in a certain way is chapter 11. So he talks about that. And if I were to just summarize it in my own words, this certain way is basically being laser focused on what it is that you want to create. This is not a new concept. I mean, this is not an uncommon concept. Now, you hear people talk about it all the time, in terms of your thoughts create your reality. I said it even as I read the introduction, even from 15 years ago, right? Your thoughts create your reality. The certain way is the ability to sustain that thought, sustain and maintain that thought. And that's where the challenge comes in for most people, because we have all this mindset chatter that goes on in our lives. And we talk about this perpetually on these calls, regardless, like when you're trying to make a shift, when you want to make a change, you start to act a different way, a certain way, right? You start to use different language. And initially when you do that, you use the certain type of language and it's directly in conflict with what's already going on in your subconscious. And the result of that is you get a lot of resistance to it. So, I mean, I've added some tools to my own life when it comes to this type of thing over the years. One of those things is framing affirmations, what we all know as affirmations, or a statement about who you are and owning what it is that you want to create as a reality, and shifting that into a question. Again, Anne, you've been here long enough, you know that process. But when you change a statement or an affirmation into a question, what happens in your brain chemistry is that your brain automatically kicks into search engine mode, is what I call it. It's, when you ask a question, your brain starts looking for the answer to that question. The problem is that most of the time when we ask ourselves questions, they're the wrong questions. Why am I such an idiot? Why do I keep doing the same thing over and over? Why am I broke? Your subconscious has no emotional attachment to that question, right? But it will go about searching the answer for you and provide you with all the evidence to support why you're so broke and stupid and why you keep doing the same things over and over again, right? So when you take an affirmation, whatever it might be, so in fact, we can do this little game. It's like a little sort of exercise and I've done this with a lot of people. We've done this on these calls before. Since we're talking about the science of getting rich, let's talk about being rich. Okay, so let's have everybody make a statement. Let's just do a simple statement. I am prosperous beyond measure. How about that? Like most of the time, if people can even say that, if they can even get it out of their mouths, immediately you're going to get some resistance to it. But let's just see. So say it out loud. I can't hear you. You're all muted. Just say it out loud. I am prosperous beyond measure. Okay. So now say it one more time. And this time pay attention to what comes up in you when you say it. I am prosperous beyond measure. So, and type into the chat, or just again, we're a small enough group here, we can unmute yourself, but I'm just curious because for most people, if you don't actually believe that, like if that's not your current reality, then you get all sorts of resistance to it, right? Your brain starts going into a frenzy. It starts talking about, well, no, you are not. Nobody's in your family's ever been rich. You've never had any money. You're never going to have any money. Right? Like that. Okay. But let me ask you a question. Why are you prosperous beyond measure? Or better yet, ask yourself the question. So reframe that affirmation and say, why am I prosperous beyond measure? Well, right now your brain's going about figuring out the reasons why you're prosperous because you didn't ask why you were broke. And if you're like most people, you got zero resistance to that when you said it as a question, when you asked it as a question. So truth or not? I'm just reading some of the comments here, guys. And thanks for posting everything. Trust the reason the concept will be done. Mind up with new ideas that prosperous by man. Yeah. So Gerald says, yes, true, right? So there's a big difference. I mean, you can say affirmations in the mirror, and look, Napoleon Hill talks about in Think and Grow Rich. This is important. I mean, if you do this consistently over time, over and over and over, consecutively, day after day after day, 28 days, 30 days, depending on who you ask, 21 days to create a new habit, you create an affirmation and read it in front of the mirror with passion, with vigor, with intention behind it, you will shift your brain. But why not shortcut, right? And Selena says, believing is the key, 100%. 100%. All right, somebody is unmuted here. I can't see who it is yet. Oh, Hank, did you have something you wanted to say, or did you just pop on right now?
Just popped on.
Okay, so you just came in unmuted, so I'm just going to mute you for right now.
Okay.
And welcome, by the way. So, all right, so let me just, again, I want to go through a couple of the comments here, but, these are like the book itself provides a really solid core fundamental foundation for, and it really boils it down. Like you could say this in 300 pages, but you can say it in 50. And for me, like I said at the beginning, there's, I think that there's a principle, I think it's called Occam's razor, where the simplest solution to a problem is usually, where the best solution to a problem is usually the simplest. The fastest solution is usually the simplest. I can't remember how it goes exactly. Maybe somebody knows that. But I just believe in simplicity. Now, granted, again, it was written in 1910. And so, but you know what? Truth then is still truth now. But that doesn't mean that we don't have technology and ability and haven't been able to experiment our way to a better way. And, going back to what Anne was asking, the certain way, that's really just the ability to intensely focus on the positive, the life that you want to create. And you can do that without questions. But if you ask questions and you put those affirmations in the form of questions, it will tend to give you a better result over time. Because of the way your brain functions. And you may or may not know this, but we've learned more about how the human brain functions in the last 5 years than we have cumulatively over the last 500 years. Your brain is a powerful, powerful tool. All right. Let me just look at the comments again real quick. Teresa said the sound cut out. Can you repeat the last few sentences? I have no idea where you said that, so it's going to be hard for me to tell you. Teresa, I apologize. Is anybody else having trouble with my sound, or was that just possibly on her side? Okay, great comments, you guys. These are all great comments. So, all right, let's go on into some of the details here. So, let me pull the book back up here, and there is, again, I want to read the very beginning, like the very first paragraph. And for those of you who came in late here, we're talking about The Science of Getting Rich. It's a book that was written by Wallace D. Wattles and published in 1910. I'd like to read for you the author's preface, and then I'd like to go back to the beginning and just really talk about the underlying concepts here. So the author's original preface says, "This book is pragmatical, not philosophical. It is a practical manual, not a treatise upon theories. It is intended for the men and women whose most pressing need is for money, who wish to get rich first and philosophize afterwards." Anybody on that list? It is for those who have so far neither found the time, the means, nor the opportunity to go deeply into the study of metaphysics, but who want results and who are willing to take the conclusions of science as a basis for action without going into all the processes by which those conclusions were reached. So let me just stop there for a second real quick. Do you believe in the electric light bulb? It's a rhetorical question, but you can answer if you want to. Okay, so when you go into the living room and you flip on a switch, you pretty much know that light's coming on, right? Unless you didn't pay your bill. Okay, so you flip the switch, the light comes on. Do you know how electricity works? Maybe somebody on here does. I don't. Do you know like how all this occurred to get it to the switch that got it connected to the light, and how the light bulb works, and flip the switch, turns it on? Can you break that all down? So again, I want to just repeat, this is for the person who wants results and is willing to take the conclusions of science as a basis for action without going into all the processes by which those conclusions were reached. All right, Edison already did that for us. It is expected that the reader will take the fundamental statements upon faith just as he would take the statements concerning the law of electric action if they were promulgated by a Marconi or an Edison, and taking the statements upon faith that he will prove their truth by acting upon them without fear or hesitation. Every man or woman who does this will certainly get rich, for the science herein applied is an exact science, and failure is impossible. In writing this book, I have sacrificed all other considerations to plainness and simplicity of style, so that all might understand. The plan of action laid herein was deduced from the conclusions of philosophy. It has been thoroughly tested and bears the supreme test of practical experiment. It works. I mean, you can see, by the way, why I decided to rewrite it and simplify the language a little bit, but I thought it was really important to get his perspective at the very beginning of the book. So let's go back and let's start with chapter 1 a little bit. Obviously, we're not going to go through the whole book here, but I want to hit on some of the key points, because you can take away just from this call today, from this training today, enough information so that you can really start to shift the way you operate. And that's really what the whole purpose is. And again, there's a link in the chat. If you want to get the book, if you want to wait for the Audible, I'll let you know when the Audible comes out. But it is submitted to Audible. I just have to tweak a couple of files and pick some things I didn't like, and then I can, then it'll be available on Audible. But the actual Kindle book is here at this link that I'm posting into the chat right now. Okay, if you want to grab that. Okay, so again, I read this at the beginning of my introduction, but I think it's important to read it again now with the context, okay? So chapter 1 is called The Right to be Rich. In the very first paragraph, whatever may be said in praise of poverty, the fact remains that it is not possible to live a really complete or successful life unless one is rich. No one can rise to his greatest. I'm going to start this over again. I'm tripping over my words. Whatever may be said in praise of poverty, the fact remains that it is not possible to live a really complete or successful life unless one is rich. No one can rise to his greatest possible height in talent or soul development unless he has plenty of money. For to unfold the soul and to develop talent, he must have many things to use. He cannot have these things unless he has the money to buy them with. It's really simple. I mean, it sums up our modern society. And remember, this was written, where are we at now? 105 years ago, 108 years ago, 1910. Okay. So what does he mean by this? Well, the bottom line is that we grow through experience. So travel, books, libraries, CDs, business opportunities, friendships, relationships, all these things are what cause us to grow. And we can't get the full scope of that unless we have the money to do the things that we need to do. Okay, so let's flip this a little bit. So, there are probably some of you on the line today who are working at a job, and they're wanting to like raise the bar for themselves. You really want to live out your dream, and you're looking at what we do here as a potential vehicle, at least to start down that path. So if you're slave to the grind and working in a cubicle all day long, and then, commuting back and forth, and, maybe putting 30, 40, 50, 60 hours a week into whatever it is that you do that you don't even like, you're not living the life that you have the desire to live. And to me, like the biggest challenge for a lot of people, like the thing that challenges me about that whole concept is that it's like you're put here to do some incredible things, right? You were put here for a purpose. You may not even understand or feel like that right now, but that's because you've probably spent a lot of time getting your dream squashed, right? I mean, how many times have we all had our dreams stolen or squashed or beat out of us, and sometimes literally, right? No, don't go outside the lines, don't go outside the box, right? It's this is like it's happening perpetually in our society. Even to the people around you, you get involved with an opportunity like we're in now, an amazing business and community like we're in now, and you tell somebody who doesn't have a perspective about it, they don't have a context for it, they haven't seen the webinar, they don't understand the information yet, they haven't been to an event. Sometimes that's unfortunately the closest people in your lives, your friends, your family, the people who supposedly care about you. And they're like, oh my God, that's some kind of a scam or a pyramid scheme, or what have you gotten yourself into, or blah, 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 blah. It's the same as that subconscious chatter in your brain that goes on, right? Guess where it came from? It came from that kind of thing happening at a very early age. Some of it, most of it, you probably don't even remember, but many of us are still experiencing that. But you can live a different reality. You can do something different. You are making a choice to do something different, and don't let anybody else decide whether it's okay for you to do that or not. It's up to you. Like, we're here for you. If your family or your friends or the people in your close inner circle are not, well, you got us. And I'll tell you what, that's no small thing. Those of you who have been around the community for a while know that to be true. Anybody who was at the event knows that to be true. This is real family, right? What do they say? You can't choose your family, but you can, I forget. I'm trying to quote things today. I'm not remembering the right quotes, but you can't choose your family, bottom line.
That's so true. Cause my kids are the first ones to say that, how could it be so stupid for being scammed and stuff like that? And
right.
When I first tried to attempt to tell them about what I was doing, oh, I don't believe a thing you're saying. You're just lying to me. And I don't lie to my kids, but they were just saying that. And then I made a fail, check comes in, and they're like speechless. They didn't know what to say to that. And my immediate family are the ones that say to me, if it wasn't for bad luck, you'd have no luck at all. I've never seen somebody so unlucky in my entire life. This is my immediate family.
This is and you know what? The ones who they think they're protecting you. Okay. So to be fair to them, they think they're protecting you. And I totally get that. Honestly, I bet there's not one single person on this entire line today who hasn't experienced that on some level. You know, I mean, look, I come from a background of, you know, like my dad's a veterinarian. He's got a degree in epidemiology. My cousins, you know, that are my age are engineers and doctors. And I mean, you know, we come from this long background of go to school, get a good job, blah, blah, blah. Man, you know, by the time I started playing guitar when I was 9, by the time I was 14, I was like, man, I get good grades and I could probably go to any college I want to, but I just want to be a rock star. But I wanted to be a rock star, not just for the music and the girls, which was always fun, but it was because like that was my path, my initial path to entrepreneurship. It took me a while to figure that out. But when I got involved with bands, I was the producer and the one who actually could make a living. So we had studio time and pay for that kind of stuff. And, you know, I was the one looking at the business side of the business and understanding like it was an entrepreneurial venture for me. You know, it was also a deep in my soul venture, but you know what? Entrepreneurship can provide that in a lot of different levels. So I get it. And like I said, there's nobody on this line today probably that hasn't had somebody say, what the hell are you thinking? I mean, I still have. I still hear it from time to time from people that are close to me, even though I've successfully navigated this territory for 22 years. My last 5 businesses in a row have been 6 figures, multiple 6 figures. Now we're on the way to 7 figures. This partnership with Eric. They're still going to say it. And here's the thing. This is something that's really, really important to get, you guys. They mean well, but a lot of times it's just selfish and they don't even realize it. They are scared to death of what would happen to them if they did what you're doing. And they're just projecting that onto you. You made the choice. You did something different. You stepped out of the box. You not only stepped out of the box, you blew up the freaking box, right? And that's what you have here. That's what you have available to you here. So again, you know, if you're hanging out with people that are bringing you down, it's maybe time to start reevaluating who you hang out with. You can hang out with us all week long. And you've probably heard it said, you know, you become the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. Well, again, a good reason to evaluate who you're spending time with, right? You have a choice. You don't have to spend time with people you don't want to spend time with, even if they're in your family. You know, you can limit that, or you can also put up sort of energetic walls to not let all that junk in that those people say. And you say, oh, that's, you know, I can appreciate your perspective. It's fine. That's not who I am, but I can appreciate your perspective. I get that you're coming from that place. You know, it doesn't have to be a conflict. Love overcomes fear. Yes, Teresa. Yes, yes, yes. Can't let fear rule your life. Absolutely. So, all right, we're as we do on these trainings, we get off on tangents, which is great. And by the way, at this point, we're about 15 minutes before the end, and anybody who wants to just jump in at any time with any comment or question or whatever is welcome to. Again, we're not going to go through the entire book here. I wanted to just set the foundation for the real core concepts. And this is just, again, kind of factual. The way our society is set up, the way he said it, as a person develops in mind, soul, and body by making use of things. Okay, so those things can be airplanes to go to islands to spend wonderful times, you know, like in a creative space, or just resting or letting your body, you know, relax. Or, you know, those things can be seminars or courses or things that raise your bar for you. But there is, the thing about money is that people have, it's such a charged subject, right? It's super charged subject. You know, people have a lot of issues around money. We've done full trainings on these calls just on that one topic. But that's the way society is set up. And it was set up that way in 1910. And it has been for, honestly, in some form or another for, you know, 6,000 years. Money isn't a big deal. It's just a method of exchange. You know, we could be exchanging sheep or rocks or, you know, it's a chosen method of exchange. That's it. These little pieces of paper, whether they have pictures of, you know, Ben Franklin or George Washington on them, just the only reason they're worth anything is because we agree that they are. But we need that method of exchange in our society to get the stuff that we need so that we can have the experiences that we need so that we can raise ourselves up so that we can grow from those experiences. And that's all he's saying here. A person's right to life means his right to have the free and unrestricted use of all the things that may be necessary to assist in his fullest mental, spiritual, and physical unfoldment. In other words, everyone has the right to be rich. I mean, it's super simple, you know? Your spiritual unfoldment. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, Jerry Roy, you guys know Coach Jerry. He went to India and basically, I don't know if he went to an ashram or I'm not sure what he did exactly, but he literally just checked out for 2 months. Why? Because he wanted to, because it was going to raise his spirit, because he can, because of an opportunity like this, because financially he could exchange that time and not have to worry about it. That's what you have here in front of you. Donette says, what did I miss, please, in a nutshell? Okay. I'm sorry, Donette. I don't think I can do that. I don't think I can phrase this in a nutshell. We are talking about a book called The Science of Getting Rich. This is actually a book that we're talking about my version of the book. It was a public domain book published in 1910. I rewrote it. I didn't like just completely rewrite it. I just kind of tweaked it a little bit. And the link for the book on Amazon is here, and it's coming out on Audible soon with my soothing voice. You can listen to it in your ears. The big, big sound of Jeffrey Howard, if you want to. I'll let you know when it comes out. So that's what we're talking about in a nutshell. I just want to pull out a couple of other key points. There's nothing wrong with wanting to get rich. The desire for riches is really the desire for a richer, fuller, and more abundant life, and that desire is praiseworthy. The person that does not have the desire to live more abundantly is abnormal. So the person who does not desire to have money enough to buy all he wants is abnormal. He's talking about science here. And, you know, someone, I think it was Selena, might have made some specific sort of biblical or you know, Christian-based references. I think that might have been you, Selena. Sorry if it wasn't. There's a lot of comments have gone flying by here. But here's the thing, it's like this is biblical principle, but it's universal principle. He quotes Christ in the Bible throughout. Okay, so one of the things I talk about in the audio version of the book is, well, actually it's in the editor's notes here too. It's like I've taken the liberty of modernizing, where's my brain? Money, right? Modernizing some of the language in the book because it was published in 1910. There were certain things of the original message that just kind of slipped away. And I mentioned that another point of observation is that Mr. Wattles used language in the original manuscript that comes from a Christian spiritual perspective and quoted from Christ in the Bible in several places. It is my belief, and I also believe Mr. Wattles, that this material applies whether you're a spiritual person or agnostic, whether you're Christian, Buddhist, Jewish, or practice any other particular spiritual dogma. This is universal principle. You know, your belief system can dive right in and you know, attack this in a way that's going to make sense to you, whatever it is my point. As long as you accept the true fact that the science contained in this, as long as you accept as true fact the science contained in this work, you can apply it to positive benefit in your life, creating unlimited and abundant wealth for yourself, your family, and those with whom you care, about whom you care the most. So it doesn't matter. It's not based on a particular belief system. But, you know, even if you want to look at it from a Christian perspective, I mean, even Jesus himself said all these things that, and I have to paraphrase it because I'm not a scripture person that I can just whip it off the top of my head, but all the things that I do, you can do these things too and more. So whether it's creating something from nothing, loaves and fishes, right? For example, wine from water, walking on water, you know, you can do these things too, but you have to think in a certain way. Right? So all Jesus did was say it in a different way than Wattles is saying it. But and Lee's saying, I have the original Wattles version, so happy you revised it. Can't wait to read it. It dawned on me that a revision would be a good idea, and you did it. Thank you. Yeah, and there's been other versions. I mean, there's probably several dozen versions of this book out there on Kindle and Amazon. I know actually Bob Proctor did a complete rewrite of it too. You know, Bob Proctor was one of the people that was in The Secret. I feel like if I start jumping into another sort of chapter concept, we're not going to have time to finish it up. But let me just share with you some of the things that I think are the most important about it. Chapter 7. 7's sort of the magic number in my life, but chapter 7 is called Gratitude. And honestly, I don't think you're going to accomplish anything that you really want unless you're genuinely grateful for what you already have. And I mean, at the core, you know, like you may feel like when you wake up today, you might have felt like your life was in a shambles. You got bill collectors chasing you down. And I don't know. I'm just throwing something out there. I'm just stating an example, right? A lot of us get into these spaces where it's like, it feels like the whole world's closing in around you and it's just caving in. So where do you start? Like, how do you express gratitude in moments like that? Well, you can start just with the most simple things. You open your eyes and you take a breath. Wow, I'm still here. I'm breathing. I can put my feet on the ground. I can walk into the bathroom. Somebody else can't walk today. Somebody else is having a hard time breathing without an oxygen tank. I'm not having that problem. Most of my problems can be fixed by money. Well, now that you understand the science of getting rich, you can go out and create the money. So, what to be grateful for on the days when it's really, really challenging. Everything. Be grateful for all of it. Be grateful for the challenges, because those are the things that cause you to be strong. And if you didn't have the challenges in your life and you didn't have to overcome some of the obstacles that had happened in your life, you would not be who you are today. You might not even be here today. These things are vital. Like, your challenges are just as important as your successes in life, maybe more so in some cases. A lot of people like to say that God doesn't give you more than you can handle. Well, there are times when I felt like, well, if that's the truth, God must think I'm a badass, because holy cow, right? Some of the stuff that we've gone through. And look, I know that there are people that have gone through far greater, deeper challenges than I have. I feel actually really grateful and fortunate that I haven't had to deal with some of the things that people I know have had to deal with and overcome. I've had my own share of junk, just like we all have, but I've never had to face a major health problem. I've never even really had to face anybody around me yet having a major health problem. So that's something that, again, that the concepts around the science of getting rich apply to that too, though. It's not just about money. It's about really creating your reality. So if you have some sort of a life-threatening illness or some kind of a challenge, physically, health-wise, you can shift that using the same concepts, the same techniques. And it's all right here. It's just a matter of context. Does that make sense?
That works. It worked for me anyway. It works for me. I have a degenerative muscle disease, but I swim every day and I concentrate before I have to set my mind before I even go in to swim my 3 miles and concentrate that I'm light as a feather. I can swim as good as anybody, in fact, better than anybody, and I can keep on top of the water, and I have to have this total mindset before I even start, to do that. And if I'm in a bad mood one day, it doesn't work. So it totally have to believe what you're doing. Like, I don't know, it doesn't come out right when I say it, but you're fine.
You said it perfectly. Yeah, I think we all get it. Gerald, you made a comment here. What I was talking about earlier is not a general announcement that I can actually make yet. Just stay tuned for some things that are developing. That's going to be a big, big plus for everybody in the business. All right. Let me just look and see if I missed anything that's questions. Does anybody have any of their own perspective, comments? Who else who's actually read the book or read some version of it or has some perspective on this would like to actually make a comment? Like I said, this isn't always designed to be a lecture. It's really about interaction. Appreciate all the comments though, man. We got like pages and pages of comments. This is amazing. So clearly we're hitting a point for people. I never knew this book existed until now. Yeah, well, you never know anything exists until you do. And it's pretty amazing that this has been around as long as it has and been kind of under the radar a little bit. And even with The Secret coming out and this being the basis or the inspiration for creating The Secret, not unless you happen to have been on that Oprah show and seen that. She doesn't talk about that. She doesn't, Rhonda is the she I'm talking about, the lady who wrote The Secret and did the movie. She doesn't, she doesn't make a direct reference to that being the book. She just talks about, my daughter gave me this book and I voraciously read through it in one night and everything began to change. like I said, I didn't even know that that was the book until I heard it then. And that's when I got the chills, because I literally was working with that same project at the same time. Her version of it was The Secret, which was massive, which just opened up the eyes and minds of people, millions, tens of millions of people around the world. You know, mine was my little audiobook and my little rewrite of Science of Getting Rich, which has also, in some form or another, been in the hands of tens of thousands of people. And that was before I even got it up on Amazon. That's just when I was just selling it on my own as a digital download. So, hi, Jackie. Are you trying to say something, or are you just happening to jump on?
I'm sitting here with a local prospect.
Oh.
Talk to him about our classes, and I'm just so glad you're still on.
Yeah, we're diving in deep. We're talking about the science of getting rich today, and we're diving in really deep.
Michael, let me see.
Hi, Michael.
Hi.
Well, you couldn't be in better hands with Jackie. She's a rock star. She's one of our top mentors, and yeah, you'll definitely want to take a closer look at what we're doing. So this training that we do on Fridays, we call it Finish Strong.
He was on his phone. He didn't hear the accolades you gave me.
Oh. All right. Tell me when he's ready.
That's Jeff.
Jeff. Hi, Jeff.
Hi. How are you?
Good.
Good. So listen, I was just saying that you can't be in better hands. Jackie's one of our top mentors. We work really closely together as part of the mentor group, and I'm glad she invited you on, because this is an incredible community. And on Fridays, well, we do a success call at this time, what we call success calls every Friday at this time. And on Friday, we do this one called Finish Strong Friday, which is really about, it's all mindset, and it's really about shifting how you view the world, because what goes on in your mind is, between that little 6-inch space between your ears is the thing that creates success or failure in your life, or the perception of it. So we're talking about a book today called The Science of Getting Rich. And we're just literally wrapping up here in the next couple of minutes. So thanks for being on. It was nice to meet you.
Jeff is one of our top mentors. I love being in his workshops, and he's just one of a top producing mentor. And he comes with such a great background, Michael. But I'm so glad that we were able to get in on the last few minutes, Jeff. Thank you so much.
Me too, Jackie. And thank you for saying all that. I appreciate you.
All right. Talk to you later. Did you have a question?
Nice to talk to you.
Okay.
Nice to talk to you too, Michael.
Okay. Bye-bye.
All right. Well, since we have a guest who is here, guys, anybody else want to chime in and talk about how awesome it is to be part of this community?
It's just absolutely amazing. It's all about what we think and what we believe. But, everything starts with our thoughts. And I think that the biggest awareness that we've been able to get out of this business is the recognition that initially our thoughts, even though we were always saying the right thing or trying to be positive, we weren't drilling down to look at our belief system. And it's only when our belief system changed that our success level changed in this business. So I just really want to encourage everybody to just be aware. If you're not happy, a day when you wake up, stop and think about what you're saying to yourself. Stop and think about what you're telling yourself. Stop and think about what you're believing, because it wasn't until we really drilled down and looked at all that stuff. It's not fun. It's not comfortable, but that's the work that's required to really take a look at it and make a change. And all of these mentors that are coming together throughout the week to do these mindset calls, get the books, listen to the audibles, do the work, and you'll be amazed at how much everything will turn around for you just because you're changing your thoughts.
Thank you, Selena.
mentor in training. Welcome, welcome to Future Mentors of America, Selena. Lee says, go for it, Michael. You will not be sorry. I love being around the 8F to Yale community because it's so positive. What a blessing it is to be encouraged all the time. That was in the chat.
Thank you so much, Lee.
All right. Well, you guys, we're at the top of the hour, a little bit past it, 1 minute past. Anybody else have any comments or anything they'd like to add before we wrap up?
Did you see it?
Just so go ahead and unmute yourself and go wild. Nope.
Appreciate all your thoughts and input, Jeff. Appreciate it.
My pleasure, Gerald. Thank you. Thank you for being here. All right, you guys, have a fantastic weekend. You're welcome, Teresa. Again, you guys are awesome. Thank you for your attendance today. We're in a crazy busy week with the holiday and everything, so everybody's taking time out of their week, and I appreciate it. So you guys have a great one. We'll catch you next week. Take care. Bye for now.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Quite inspiring.
Thank you.